Says I'm live, and good morning to everybody. But me being live also doesn't tell me, or show me rather, that I'm actually here. I'll figure this out as we go. No big deal for everybody that's tuning in. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome. I hope you're having a great Sunday. If you can see me, that's wonderful. I just can't see you. So that's all right. That's okay. We'll play around and get it figured out. Any way it goes, I'm still going to talk, and if you can hear me, then you can listen to me. So, whatever this camera nonsense that's wanted to cooperate, let's try this. Oh, it doesn't want to work on the regular cam, but it'll work on this camera. All right, well, give me just a second here. Resituate this. Didn't start out as swimmingly and smoothly as one would expect, but that's okay. That's not a bad thing because you learn from your mistakes and don't get frustrated and you don't give up. So we're going to kind of reset and restart this now that we've got the camera, even though I had it set up and tested just right with the camera on this computer, but that's okay. We'll go with this. I'll adjust this a little bit so you can. Yeah, there we go. Hello, good morning, happy Sunday. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Max, and I'm blessed to have you here, even if nobody's watching. I'm still here, and that's okay. I'd like to say thank you for everybody who is here. I'd like to thank my wife and my children for being so supportive of me and allowing me to find it in myself to be able to take that step and get out of my comfort zone to be able to talk to people and give some insight on things that I have particular interest in, and that is sports, sports cards in particular, but sports generally and sports overall as a whole, and specifically sports cards. And if I were to get even more specific, I would say basketball being my number one, my ride or die, and then we got football. So, not saying anything bad about baseball, football, hockey, tennis, volleyball, golf, which is more of a game than a sport in my opinion. But anyway, it goes sports. So the reason we're here, and the reason I'm here, and the reason I made this show for today is to kind of give you an introduction to myself, backstory, if you want to call it that, a little bit of history, and just kind of let you know who I am and why I'm here. So once again, my name is Max, and the reason that I am here is to basically talk about sports cards, sports, and the sports card hobby. And in light of that, we can BS and debate and talk whatever you want. You go to certain channels, and you either got a channel that wants to talk about the sports card hobby, you got the channel that wants to talk about the GOAT, okay? And then you have another channel that wants to talk about sports news. So you got different channels for different things, and if we can incorporate something without making a jump and mess of it into one, I think that'd be pretty cool. But with me, I was born in the 70s from the former Soviet Union. I moved to the States when I was 3 or 4 years old, and that was the early 80s when I had come here. And at that point in time, it was myself, my father, my mother, and my dad's mother, my grandmother. My other grandmother stayed behind for her own reasons, and both my grandfathers, I'd never met them, had already passed away. So it was just the four of us coming here to the States. And going from the former Soviet Union to the United States is not a simple thing, and I really didn't understand and grasp that until I was older. But to sum it up, during the course of the late 70s in the Soviet Union, there were one of the 15 republics, one of them was Ukraine. And there was a huge grain shortage, bad grain shortage. And another thing about the Soviet Union at the time, and it's just as true now as it's ever been, is if you're not Russian, then you don't say that you're not Russian. Meaning that if you're, let's say, Jewish, which is what the six-pointed star is, the shield of David, the star of David, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a gang member. I'm actually just a Jewish guy. I'm Russian. I'm also just as fluent in my Russian as I am in my English. So back to the story. Grain shortage. So grain shortage, persecuted Jews equals United States, Israel, and the former Soviet Union deciding to make a deal. And what they did was they decided to trade grain, which they needed, for their persecuted refugees, the Jews, the Russians, and you send them to Israel. Israel take them. Okay, sounds like a pretty good deal. My dad thought so. So we got fortunate enough to be in that select group of immigrants at that time. And from the Soviet Union, we went to Israel. In Israel, we had the choice. I say we, but my dad, my mom, and his mother, they had the choice, the option, if you will, to either stay in Israel or we can go anywhere we want. We can stay in Israel, we can go to Canada, we can go to the United States, we can go back to Soviet Union if we want. Fortunately, my dad, he picked the right place, the greatest place on the face of the earth, United States. God bless America. So we get to the States, and I'm a young man, and you have to understand that during the time that we'd come over, being Russian in America has always been a little bit kind of interesting since the end of the Second World War and the start of the Cold War and other various factors in between, but that's another story in itself. But when we first got to the United States, we didn't have anything. We weren't given anything. There wasn't any free handouts. All right. We didn't come here with a home. We didn't come here with a family other than our own. So we didn't have anybody here. It was just us. And what we did have was means of support, if you will, and avenues to be able to find work, to learn to speak the language, to learn and to write, because in the Soviet Union and it would, with my family at least, I don't want to say that they weren't able to communicate in English, but they really weren't pushed in the Soviet Union at that time to be able to be fluent in English unless you wanted to be a fucking spy, in which case it just doesn't work out. And by the way, I'm not a hacker. I don't know how to do that. Clearly, you could tell as it took me 2 minutes to get a camera set up. Anyway, that being said, we get to the States, and at that time, being Russian, you got movies like Rocky Four, you got Red Dawn, you got The Day After. So, and you got Reagan, who, wasn't a big fan of the Russians. But for me, it really didn't make any difference. I'm a kid, but I got my parents and my grandma who love me, so it didn't make any difference. I don't know any better. When you're a kid, you know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So you just kind of live life and you figure things out, or so I thought. And I didn't know that I was any different than anybody else, and I'm still not any different than anybody else. I'm just a guy named Max, and here I am in front of the camera talking to people that know me, or people that don't know me, or people that would like to know me. And that's fine. That's great. It's wonderful. But it was difficult because nobody understood the language. Nobody knew the language. Didn't have a car. We were helped by the Jewish Community Center, and they were able to give my dad a job. He started bussing tables, doing dishes, whatever he could do to make money for the family. We got a place to live that we could afford. We were able to survive and get groceries. Eventually, he was able to get a car, and this was all in the span of a couple of years. And initially, when we come to the States, we got on to the East Coast, and we were in New York. Specifically, we were in Bensonhurst. It's a borough of Brooklyn, and we were there for a short time. And this was after the Israel. We went to Italy for a little while before we got to the States. After Italy, that's when we got to New York. New York, we were in Illinois for a little while, in Skokie in particular. And from Skokie, Illinois, we went to Kansas City on the Missouri side, right off the state line. From there, we finally got it to Kansas. By this time, the time we got to Kansas, I was approaching close to 10 years old. And from Kansas, my father at this point in time had opened up uh, automotive businesses, exhaust business, muffler shops, and I'd been, you I started school probably 6, 7 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And even then, when I started school, I couldn't speak really any English, so I had to pick it up. There weren't any classes or anything in place at that time where, they put you in a different group of the Russian immigrant kids, and you teach them different than you teach them. No, they just threw you in there and sink or swim. You figure it out or you don't. And that's it. So you gotta, you know, you gotta adapt. You got to be able to figure it out. You got to be able to survive. And if you're not able to do that, then you're gonna you're gonna have a hard time. But my time was hard enough already by not being able to understand, and by not being able to understand or to effectively communicate because I didn't know the language. It was tough, and kids at times could be very cruel, and not only cruel to a degree of just bullying or picking on kids, but cruel to where they actually want to do harm to you. At least that was my experience, but I wouldn't let that slide because I had a tough ass dad. Eastern Bloc, old school, don't fuck around, hardcore. No one's no one's gonna take advantage of me. That was the kind of mentality that my dad has, and that's the kind of mentality that he instilled in me, even at a young age. Whether or not I knew how to speak English or understand what somebody was saying, I knew if somebody was disrespecting me, or if I knew somebody was trying to mm, fuck with me, I wouldn't let it slide. So that was my early childhood until I was adapted to the culture in which I was thrust into at an early age. So by the time I was 10 years old, for the majority of my life, I'd been working with my dad and his business, which was on the Missouri side, a place called Grandview. Grandview, if you want to call it Ruskin. It's on the Missouri side here in Kansas City in the outskirts. But it was a muffler shop, A1 Muffler, the building, everything's still there. It was a great place, shitty location, great people, awful location, but great business. Everybody paid cash. And back then, things were just a lot different. And it wasn't out of the ordinary for a kid to go work with his pop or work in the driveway, or we didn't do that necessarily, but to work outside on a vehicle was perfectly normal. You see it all the time. I don't see it as much as I used to anymore, but back then that's what I did. I go and I work with my dad, and I learned how to do exhaust. So while some kids are out riding their bikes, fucking around, doing that, which I also did as a kid, I spent the majority of my time since I was about 6 years old, 5, 6 years old, going with my dad to work and learning how to bend pipe, learning how to use the torches, learning how to weld, and that brings a great story. Thank you, Mr. Bowen. I didn't mean no disrespect to you. I know that I sent you some comments, and I love your show. I love it. It's wonderful. I enjoy watching it, and I think that you are a wonderful host, and your content is excellent. So, thank you. My apologies. There's no context. This is another reason why I want to introduce myself, because anybody can be a keyboard commando and sit here and type, but without knowing who's on the other side of that keyboard, you never know who you're dealing with. And I'm nobody special, like I said. I'm just a guy named Max who lives in Kansas City. That's it. That's all I'm ever going to be. That's all I'm ever going to be in my mind. Meaning that I'm not special, just a guy. But aside from the being traded from grain and then working and learning how to be a mechanic, we moved because my dad had an opportunity to go to Florida. Now, hindsight looking back, it doesn't seem like it was a really good idea. And it wasn't. Because what he did was take his perfectly good business, and he had the business and he had other properties, and he leased out the properties while he was gone, and he decided to go to Florida with another friend and open up a barbecue restaurant. You know what he knows about barbecue? Not a fucking thing. He knows how to eat it. That's it. But you can't be afraid to fail, and you can't be afraid to take chances, and you can't be afraid to take risks. And that was my dad. Now, a little backstory on my dad, real quick, is that he has an education of a third grader. His father died when he was 9 years old. So he was not only a son, but he became a man at an early age because he was forced to. He had no choice. You know, when his dad died, who's going to step in? And my grandmother, she never remarried. That was that was her husband. There was nobody going to take her place. So they from 9 years old, I can't expect somebody who never really got to know their father to know how to really be a father. And I can tell you right now that I'm not saying he was a bad father, but it was a tough, tough go at times. Because one thing that's true as stereotypes are concerned, Russians do drink. I don't drink. I don't smoke cigarettes. I haven't since, I don't know, 2011, 2012, something like that. So it's been a while. I have no desire to go back to drinking or smoking. Don't let the tattoos or anything else fool you. I'm not a bad guy, I promise. And what happens at that point is the Florida debacle, is what I like to refer to it, is basically you go to Florida, you get into a business that you're not familiar with, you hear bad advice from people that don't have your best interest in mind, and then you end up in a bad position. You're over leveraged, you lose money, and you're done. Unfortunately, it didn't go quite that bad, but there was significant loss, and unfortunately, he wasn't the restaurateur that he thought he was. So after that, go up and we move up to Atlanta. And when we were in Florida, we were in the Orlando area. So I lived in Castleberry, I lived in Altamont Springs, and I lived in Longwood when I was in Florida, in the Orlando area and surrounding. I went to different schools. I went to two different middle schools in Florida, and then two different or one different high school. I started high school when I was still in Florida, and then we went to Georgia, Atlanta. And we lived in Norcross, and in Atlanta, we were there, and he got another business that he opened up, back automotive wise. And at this point, I'm a teenager, so I'm also going to school and working for my dad at the same time. So I'm doing both, and I'm also doing other things. And all this whole time, in the background of me growing up and going to school and moving around and making friends, yada yada yada, I'm collecting cards and I'm watching sports and I'm playing sports. Because growing up and being in Russia, I didn't do that. I never had the opportunity. When I got to the States and I saw it on the television, I'd never seen it before. I was like, wow, it's amazing. I've never seen anything like this. This is great. And I was hooked. So sports and we really took, and I really really enjoyed playing. I played baseball, I played football, I wrestled, I did a little boxing, uh, recreationally basketball. Just love basketball, and so sports were huge, and collecting was huge. for me at least, even without a lot of money, it didn't necessarily cost a lot of money because sports cards, they were everywhere back then. You can go to any of the corner stores and get them. You can go to Kmart's or Ventures. There's no more of those around, but I mean, there were local card shops. You go to swap meets. The cards were everywhere, and everything was cheap. It was wonderful. It was to where a child in his early teens and younger could actually be able to afford to go and buy it himself. It was nothing like it is now. And what I do, I have money. I wouldn't get like paychecks from my dad or anything else, but I would save money. I collect money, and I would make sure that I'd put money aside and I would go buy sports cards. Why not? I didn't do it because I was looking long term and I had some kind of crystal ball that was going to tell me to buy these certain cards, hold on to them, and they're going to be worth lots of money. No, 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 nothing like that. I did it because I loved the sport. I loved to watch the players, and it was just so amazing to me that I was just hooked. I had two real passions: working on the cars and watching and collecting sports cards and watching the sports as much as I could. Didn't even matter what. I didn't even watch baseball, and nothing against baseball. It's just a little bit slower than what I would like. That's all I'm saying. Still let to watch it. No problems. Even the shitty Royals. The shitty Royals, I'll watch them. My team. What do you do? Sorry. But Florida, Georgia, back to Kansas City, and not because anything in Atlanta was bad. He was actually doing really well. The reason we came back to Kansas City, and this was in the early 90s now, so I want to say we came back 94, Kansas City, is because the leases came up on one of his properties, and he wanted to come back. He wanted to open up a new shop, new building, in his new building, and he wanted to start fresh, start over here. So that's what he did. I said, not a, he wasn't scared. He's not scared. He's still not scared. 75-year-old man kick your ass. I'll tell you that right now. But he comes up. We all come back. And my mom was still alive then. God rest her soul. And he opens up the new shop, Exhaust, and it does really well. And me, I'm getting older. I'm starting to drive now. I'm still collecting cards, still buying stuff. No interest in selling. I do some trading at the most. I wouldn't. I just never wanted to sell it. I wouldn't sell it. I'd sell, toys, whatever else, do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, even at a young age. But the cars, for whatever reason, I just wanted to hang on to, not because I thought they were going to be worth a lot of money, but because they were guys that I really loved to watch play, especially like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. It was just watching Kareem was amazing. With Dr. J, it was just, it was amazing to me. The things these men could do is just unbelievable. So I was hooked on sports. And as I transition and grow older, now I'm closer to 50 than I am 40. Middle aged, I guess, is what they say. Don't feel like it though. Still feel like a young guy. And to save you a story, and I didn't mean to go on this 23, 24-minute rant about myself, but I guess in a sense I did because I didn't know how long it was going to take. But I appreciate everybody who decided to chime in and stick around. It's awesome. It really is. I think that the reason that I'm doing this is to help me help myself in a sense. And what I mean by that is, as I've grown older through my years as a professional, I am a professional technician. And I'm not patting myself on the back or tooting my own horn. I literally am a professional technician, automotive, whether it be gasoline, diesel, alternative fuel, electric, small engine, two stroke, four stroke, whether it's equipment, skid steers, track loaders, backhoes, uh, implements, tractors, you know, snow blowers, chainsaws, weed eaters, Anything of that nature, equipment wise, power sport wise, ATVs, UTVs, CUVs, CUCVs, 72-volt golf carts, anything mechanically related, and it doesn't necessarily have to be automotive. I am literally a master technician. I'm not just saying that, I really am a master technician. I currently work for one of the largest uh, companies as far as semi trucks is concerned, and that's Peterbilt. And I'm a technician at Peterbilt. Unfortunately for me, I'm also not able to work, and that's due to an injury that I sustained early this year, at the beginning of the year. And I've had surgeries. I'm going to physical therapy right now. That's why I don't work anymore. That's one of the reasons why I decided to go and put myself out here and, you know, I wouldn't say try, I hate the word try, but do something else. Fill in my time and see if I like it and see if people like me, and whether or not we jive. I could talk all day. I'll talk to a wall in a hall. Clearly, I have no problem with that. And I have no problem talking about myself. Very transparent, also. I don't have anything to hide. But what brought me here, like I said, I've had businesses. I had a good year with my father. We owned that for 10 plus years. And then after we'd sold that, I'd opened up a few more businesses, all automotive related. I had a towing business slash repo recovery. I did that, had that for a number of years, and had a couple other automotive shops. And I also opened up and kept them until we had our daughter. And that was 2014 when she was born. And in 2015, I closed my last shop, my last business. And I almost want to say that I retired myself to a degree, and I did in way of business, but not in way of working. So I still work, but I'd sold all my businesses, I had sold all my equipment, and for the most part, I was content with whatever it is I was going to do. I didn't necessarily need to do anything else or want to do anything else that I, didn't have to. But I always want to keep myself busy, so I always go and I work on stuff, and people will, they still do call me. They need something done. Boom, you call the right guy. And even right now to this day, people still call me, ask me for work. Unfortunately, right now, like I said, I can't. I'm unable to do it, and I'm not going to try to walk you through a repair. And people are probably going to ask themselves, if you know so much about vehicles and you're so good of a tech, why aren't you making videos about automotive repair or diesel repair or semi truck repair or this or that? I'll tell you why. Because I don't want to give people advice on repairing their own vehicle without knowing what their level of expertise is, and then putting them in a position to where they may or may not succeed, and a failure could be very damaging. And I don't want that on me. I don't want that on them. So I don't want to talk about automotive. And it may be the thing that I know better than anything else, or it would be my forte, if you want to call it that. But I would answer questions, but I don't want to give any advice. I don't want to do any tutorials. I don't want to tell people how to fix things. That's not what I want to do, because to me, that's talking shop. And I don't want to talk shop because I've done it for so long. And that's not to say that I'll never be able to work again, but for the current time, rehabilitating and getting my knee back to where I could actually function, that would be paramount for me right now. Which brings us to me here today in front of you, telling you the story and the camera. And, for all those who tuned in for the last, what we had, 29 minutes, we fumbling around for the first few minutes with the camera, and then getting things going, and then going through what I wanted to talk about and then making sure it kind of flowed well. You guys tell me. You think I did okay? If you think I did okay, that's great. And if you don't, please, by all means, let me know what you think I should improve on. And I know there's lighting issues and camera issues, and you know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I am well aware of that. That's why this is the first trial of you know, you got you got to see what works for you. You know what I mean? You got to see, you got to experiment, you got to try things out, and you can't be scared to go outside your comfort zone. And I'm not going to discourage people to get out of your comfort zone, because the way that you excel, the way that you get better, and that's across the board in life and anything, is to take yourself and get out of your comfort zone and put yourself in a position that you're not comfortable with. That way you get over it. You're going to adapt, I promise you. You got your fight, flight, or freeze. Three things that you're going to do. And you'll know right away what you're made out of. When push comes to shove, you're either gonna fight, you're gonna freeze, or you're gonna run the fuck away. And you can't be afraid for that. You can't be afraid to be available, and I can't be afraid to be criticized if I say something that someone disagrees with. And that's fine. It doesn't bother me. I got big shoulders, big shoulders. It doesn't bother me, because for the last almost 50 years, the shit that I've been through, nothing that anybody's going to be able to throw at me is going to bother me. It's just not. Let me read this comment here. I got Bo. Bo subscribe. Hey, Bo, thank you. I appreciate that, brother. That was awesome, man. Thank you, Bo. What we got? That 70s card show. Will there be any giveaways during this video? Not during this video, no. And like I said, this video was just, me to meet you, you to meet me. We get a feel for one another. And if you like it, you share it. But I don't know. Give you I can give you a guarantee of this, that the more I do this, and I believe the consistency is key. You do something consistently, you get a habit, good habit, and you continue with it. And being able to do that and having that consistency is going to be paramount to your success in whatever it is, whatever venture you take part in. Doesn't matter what it is. So I'm going to be putting content out there that's going to be strictly related to sports cards, to the hobby, and we'll discuss other things. We're going to discuss, breaks. We're going to discuss guys that like to rip and flip. I don't do that shit. It's not my thing. I'm not going to knock it, but it's not anything that I'm going to promote, because if I promote anything, I'm going to promote myself. If I'm going to bet on anything, I'm going to bet on myself, because that's the only thing that I know better than anybody else is me. And that's just the way that it is. So I'm not going to give anybody any advice on anything. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you any more than the next guy of who the next big thing is. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to give you any advice. The closest thing that I could give you to advice, the only thing that I would probably give you any advice on, is how to keep your collection organized, and at least what works for me in way of keeping my collection organized. And that's not to say that that works for everybody, because not only does everybody sort things differently, but everybody collects differently. There's no single blueprint. There's no right or wrong way. And there's no, it's what works for you. If it works for you, then you do it how you do it. And that's no one should be able to tell you any different. And if you listen to all the noise, all the talking heads, all this bullshit, don't get caught up in it. It's not necessary. You know, fear of missing out, mystery of missing out. You're not missing out on anything. You know what you're going to be missing out on? The fucking money you just spent on a bunch of bullshit because somebody else told you something about it. Don't do it. That's not me giving advice. That's me giving you my own personal advice. So I do it. I don't go out there. You know how many Victor Wembanyama cards I bought? Not a fucking one. You know why? Because it's insane to pay the prices that I see these cars going for a guy that's never stepped foot on an NBA court. Not going to do it. I don't care how tall he is. I don't care about any of his accolades until I see it. Show me state mindset. Then, hey, he's just a guy, a tall guy. He's just a guy. You got to go out. You got to do it. You got to put in the work. You got to prove it. So, all you guys, that clearly didn't learn anything or haven't learned anything or just don't understand, it, something new comes out, it's going to demand a premium. Regardless of whether the season is over or not, somebody that's been hyped up and talked about as much as this guy has been for as long as he has been, people are losing their fucking minds paying these prices for this guy's card. My opinion. My opinion. What I say is by no means gospel, so don't take it as that. That's just me interjecting. Also, a form of my introduction to myself. So now you also have an insight on how I think a little bit to a point. But I think we did pretty good with 36 minutes. I think that's pretty good. You know, I could tell you more about me, but there's really, you know, there's more to show than there is to tell. We can talk about several things, but I'm blessed to have a beautiful wife who's a great success. I'm blessed for my beautiful children, boy and a girl. They're wonderful, they're smart, they're kind, they're compassionate. I'm blessed by my Lord. I'm blessed for everything. And I'll say this to give you another kind of perspective on the way I think. You need to be thankful for everything. And you need to be thankful for not only the good things, but you need to be thankful for the shitty things too. Because if you don't appreciate everything, and I mean everything, you will never understand anything. You will never understand what up is without down. You will never understand what right is without left. You will never understand success without failure. So it's something that I believe in very, very, very emphatically. So, like I said, I'm not scared to put myself out there. I encourage other people to get out of their comfort zones. I'm not telling you to make YouTube videos or do anything like that if that's not what you want to do. I'm here because this is what I want to do. I'm not here because it's something that I don't want to do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making a video. There's a purpose behind me doing this. And besides that, I'm going to leave everybody with this. Thank you again. I wish everybody a happy and safe holiday weekend. I'll probably make some little videos and I'll put up my family. They're out of town. They're doing fireworks and everything a few hours away at Nana and Papa's house. I'm here because my four-legged friend can't leave him alone. That's my boy. His name is Murphy. He's a sheepadoodle. He's upstairs right now. He's got this bone with these peanut butter treats stuffed inside and goes crazy over this thing. But I just, I'm blessed. I wish everybody out there the best, and it really means a lot that I think I had maybe two, three, four people in here. That's wonderful. That means a lot to me. I didn't expect there to be anybody. My expectations are low because I have no barometer. That, and like I said, I'm doing this for my own personal. I'm doing this for me. Maybe this is a form of therapy for me. Maybe this is a form of me being able to help somebody else in some kind of way. And I can tell you stories of, you know, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't say putting myself in a terrible position because I don't do that, but I've been in some terrible positions that I can tell you about, but they're not necessarily going to be directly related to sporting cards, all right, or sports because I don't gamble. I don't gamble. So, anyway, thank you again, everybody. I wish everybody and their families nothing but the best. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you see, there's great things to come. I'll give stuff away because I've got plenty of stuff to give away. Doesn't bother me a bit. I got, hold on 1 second. Oh, oh, oh. There. Since everybody likes to look at cards, I'm just going to show some cards off. Just at the end of the stream. There we go. Just look at some cards. This is a Jokic. It's a Revolution. It's a fractal. It's numbered out of 100. Of course, it's autographed. It's a fractal. It's a pretty card. If I took it out of the top loader, look at it. I've already done that. It's really clean. It's a very nice card. It's very pretty. It's got a nice clean autograph of it. It's a nice card and way of the jersey. I really like the red. And like I said, I'll work on the lighting and all these other factors and get things honed out and measured up. But that's, just I just pulled a random stack of my stuff just to show you some of the things that I've got. And this is some of the newer stuff. Obviously, I've got a lot of stuff, and I mean a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. This is just a bunch of second year Jokic stuff. It's, I think 6 of them in there, something like that. And I've got, and these aren't cards that I just bought. I was buying Jokic honestly because to me, you're Serbian, you're Croatian, Latvian, you're still Eastern European. You're as Russian to me as anybody else. That's just my mentality. Eastern Europeans, same type of mentality. Some are nuttier than others. But I started buying Jokic when Jokic came out. So when he started doing real good and everybody else is surprised he's winning MVPs, and now he's a champion and a finals MVP, this is no shock to me at all because I saw the potential and the talent in this kid. Doesn't matter whether or not he went out and had the Kobe type mentality of having to work and train, et cetera, is hard, or being able just to be that good to where you can get out on the floor and dominate, which is what Jokic does. But I was able to see that and recognize it and just going with my gut. I like this game, so I started buying Jokic cards when they were shit. I don't even think I paid a couple dollars, but there's a couple Prism rookies. There's one, two, three, four. There's four of the rated rookies. Yeah, one, two, three. One, two, three. I know I have some more. Sorry, the rookies. And I'm just, like I said, this was the first stack that was closest that I pulled, so I got it. I have one, got this. It's a rookie threads though. It's 8 as far as the grade goes, and then I got a bunch of other Jokic rookies. But yeah, I'll give stuff away. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. And I got a lot of cards. I know that's kind of relative term because a lot to me and a lot to you could be two totally different things. So a lot, it's kind of like people say a lot of money. What's a lot of money? There's, what's a lot of money to a billionaire is probably going to be a lot of money than it is to a homeless person. But I'm sure that there is a universal number that everybody could agree on that would be a lot. Let's just say a million, even though in today's day and age, $1 million ain't shit. But $1 million, I don't think anybody could disagree, is a lot of money. So if I had to estimate, the amount of cards that I have, I don't have a million cards, but I'm probably not too far off. I've never actually sat here and counted. Hell, I might have more than a million cards. I don't know. I'm surrounded by the sons of bitches. They're everywhere, multiplying. But anyway, yeah, I'll give things away. I'll one that would love to bring people on and have people on and interact with them. Like I said, I'm a very personable guy. I'm not a mean spirited guy. I don't. I'm not here to hurt people's feelings. I'm not here to make fun of people. I'm not here to call people out on blast or anything like that. But I will like to say that Bo, I already mentioned him, 1 Million Cups Project is awesome. And Dan the Card Man, if you haven't tuned into him, I'll give him a plug. And then I also really enjoy Dustin on Sports Card. Dad, those three guys are my three favorites. And that's not saying anything about anybody else. I'm not saying anything about anyone else because I do watch other channels, and there's nothing wrong with the other channels or the other content providers. But those three guys in particular, I really enjoy their content. I really enjoy the way they put on their shows and the way they interact. Well, they seem like good guys. So I could be wrong. They could be fucking jagoffs, but they don't strike me as such. So anyway, guys, listen, thank you again for everything. Thank you for the opportunity. And I am planning on making my videos here. And I think we're going to talk about grading. I think that's one that really, to me, is kind of important. Then we can talk about other things. We can touch on the same things everybody else touches on with the fanatics, yada yada yada. But that'll be a different episode. But I will guarantee you that I'm going to find the best time. I know this is holiday weekend here in the States, so holiday weekend, people are out and doing holiday weekend shit. You know, so I didn't expect there to be anybody on, to be honest. So I'm blessed to have anybody who watched it all. Now I'm going on 47 minutes, and I said that probably 20 minutes ago. Fuck, my bad. Anyway, guys, I'm going to do this at least once a week. I'll make content video wise that I'll put out there. And if you want to reach out to me, I got a Facebook page. I don't think I have an Instagram. And if I do, I don't know. I don't have a Snapchat or I don't know if I have a Twitter or not. I got a Facebook. Fuck, I probably got a MySpace. I don't know. Probably, probably got. I don't know what else is out there. I don't have a TikTok because I don't do that shit. But anyway, God bless you guys. God bless you all. God bless America. Have a happy and safe 4th of July. And we'll talk at you guys soon. I'll let you know when I'm going to be on next. Until then, I wish you all nothing but the best, nothing but love. Bye.